Today I'd like to talk about the B&W 606s2 Anniversary Edition. They retail for $8.99 USD per pair. There are a number of reviews on this already, but I've noticed that they are polarized. On the one side I see popular reviewers saying, ignore the highs are simply too in your face. There are also quite a few glowing reviews about how resolving these speakers are. I think one of them awarded the 607, the smaller brother, the speaker of the year sometime last year. So I've owned the older B&W Matrix 801s2 and I loved them. I've also owned the CM1 bookshelf model, loved them as well. Those models had the Kevlar versions of the mid-range driver. Given my experience with B&W, I wanted to take a look at these myself, hear these for myself, and share my opinion with you guys. The new 606s2 has the Continuum mid-range bass driver. This is the same driver that's in the flagship series, the 800 series, and now has been trickled down to the 600 series, so that's pretty impressive. According to B&W, this is an outcome of about 70 design iterations, the Continuum material. I couldn't find much technical details on this. It seems like it is like a Kevlar material. These are like woven type materials that offer considerably lower distortion near the breakup frequencies, near the breakup zones, and that contributes to a significant leap in performance. The 606s2 also has a 1-inch aluminum double dome decoupled tweeter. Decoupled as in there's a gel type material that separates the cabinet, so the tweeter separates it from the cabinet, so the tweeter is isolated from the vibrations of the cabinet. This construction boasts 38 kilohertz breakup performance by the tweeter, meaning that it is extremely linear up to that high of a frequency, which is way beyond human hearing. Also, the Continuum mid-range woofer is back-ported and is rated to a 40 hertz low extension at -6 dB. They also supply this with these port bungs, if you want to call it that, if you have to position these close to the wall behind them. I'll expand on that a little bit as we go through the reviews. Okay, so these come in black, an oak finish, and a white finish. Two sets of speaker terminals. They can be set up for bi-wiring or single wiring with the use of this bridge connector provided. Okay, so how do they sound? While playing with amplification and sources to feed these speakers, I actually noticed and understood the polarizing reviews. If you feed it very basic entry-level analog gear, like say an Orbit turntable or an Audio-Technica turntable with a simple card, like maybe the Audio-Technica AT95 or even the Autophone 2M red or blue, the highs were calling attention to themselves. The highs were becoming overly prominent. But also, if you power it with budget receivers or electronics like the Sony DH190 or the Yamaha RS202, this revealing tweeter exposes any high frequency anomalies down the chain. I used the Yamaha AS301 amplifier to power these speakers as well. That started sounding a little prominent on the highs as well, but luckily the Yamaha AS301 has very good tone control implementation, and a little turn of the treble knob actually took care of the harshness up top. On the other hand, if you feed it a good analog signal or digital source and good amplification, then you begin to appreciate what these guys are capable of doing. Very decent resolution without an overly present treble region. The Cambridge AX835 was the same price as the Yamaha AS301, And they made the 606s2s do quite well. The Riga Elex R would be another superb match for these speakers. Also, your listening room will be a big factor. These speakers need some room to breathe, a foot or so away from the wall behind them, and about 2 feet from the sidewalls minimum. More absorptive surfaces and less reflective objects in your listening space will definitely help. I'm just talking furnishings, rugs, drapes, etc. at the first reflection points, not expensive room treatments. Of course, dedicated room treatments will definitely help, but keeping the cost in mind, getting most of the furniture we have on hand or rugs we have will definitely help. As for amplification, I used my Gelida 3502S tube integrated with all new old stock preamplifier tubes, KT120 power tubes and KT150 power tubes as well. And I was really enjoying the detail resolution without the harshness that some people have noticed about these speakers. So let's get into some examples of good source materials, and let me try and describe how they sounded. Eric Kunzel's version with the Cincinnati Pop Orchestra, their version of the Tchaikovsky 1812 Overture. This is a Telarc recording. Hearing the first track on the 606s2, you are treated to solid low frequency, bass kicks, punchy dynamics. And about 8 minutes into the song, the children's choir comes in, and layering of the vocals in this choir is really good to hear. And then about the fourth track down, the track's called March Slav. This track has this intense, massive violins that communicate the drama of the song. The track is actually about the Serbian-Turkish war. I've read that this piece was commissioned by the Russian state to Tchaikovsky in order to raise money for the wounded Serbian soldiers who were fighting the Ottoman Empire. Supposedly, this melancholy of this track starts in the setting of a funeral and then moves on to stir emotions of nationalism and eventually victory. Well, these speakers definitely did a fine job of communicating both the silent passages, the micro details, and the micro dynamics in this piece to evoke those emotions I mentioned. If you can find the LP or the CD, you should listen to this album. It is both so musical and really well recorded. Up next is Jim Hall's Ukulele. I can only find this album on CD. It's a fantastic recording. It's a Creed Taylor production, so it's on a CTI label. And this ensemble is star-studded. Chet Baker, Grover Washington Jr. on trumpet and sax, Dave Weckl on drums, Ted Rosenthal on piano and synth, and of course Jim Hall on the guitar and many others. First track is called Ukulele, and the vocalist here is Carmen Cuesta, and her vocals on this track through the 606s2s sounds so seductive. Percussion instruments are, they sound solid, punchy. Cymbal crashes have that layering, the wood on metal sound and decay without causing any ear fatigue. Jim Hall's solo sounds so clear and warm and full. Track 4 is called All Blues, is another superb track to showcase the 606's mid-range prowess and the resolution there. This is a Miles Davis song, and it's just another example of how rich and layered this album sounds through the 602s with the right amplification. Last up, I'd like to talk about this album called Places and Spaces. This is a jazz funk album by Donald Byrd, and it's a Mizell Brothers production, just a solid production and recording. This showcased the bass capabilities and soundstage of the 606s. Again, well integrated high frequencies, nothing edgy or splashy here. Also, there's a lot of synthesizer work and phase switching effects here, and that is simply so cool in this album. The effect is almost of a 2-channel surround sound experience, and of course the music is so groovy. Listening this album through these speakers made me spin the album over twice, side after side. That's really fun. So in conclusion, I like these speakers, but there are some caveats. They won't play nice if you don't have the room to set them up properly. You'll need to pull them out into your listening space a bit. If you have to place them near the walls, like I mentioned, they provide these foam bungs that you can close the port with, and they're also tunable. You can make them smaller. There's a bung inside a bung, and it's like, I don't know what to call. I'm calling them port bungs. They're essentially just cushion type things. They sort of limited the bass response a bit, and they took away the bass kick. I didn't like using them here, so I actually pulled them out into the wall. You'll need at least a foot and a half is better from the wall behind them, a couple of feet from the side walls. And you will need high quality amplification, not necessarily high wattage, but high current capability. Like I mentioned earlier, at a minimum, something like a Cambridge AXA 35 would be a good start. But the Riga Brio and the Elex R will just bring out the best these speakers can do. Even a very good quality tube amplifier does the job as well. And of course, good source material. You record it will expose some of the flaws in badly recorded albums. Yes, they sound like a bit of high maintenance set of speakers, and they are. But next up, I'm going to be doing a review of the Dali Oberon 3 bookshelf speakers. Those also cost $8.99 USD. My preliminary listening sessions with them, I got the impression that they're quite different from the B&Ws. So guys, stay tuned for that video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it useful if you're in the market, if you're looking for bookshelf size speakers under the 1000 USD mark. Thank you as always for watching. Please share, like, subscribe. If you have experience with these speakers and you'd like to discuss that, please post them in the comments below. More fun reviews to come. Until next time, see you soon.